last few years by the radical homosexual movement. They are trying to destroy the Boy Scouts of America as it has existed. And because they are an organization that has always promoted traditional moral values. And so they are an enemy to the gay, lesbian, transgendered, bisexual, and questioning organizations. By questioning, they're the ones that added the Q. They add a letter a week, I think, now to their cause. Joining us to talk about this and some other matters is our good friend John Stemberger from Florida. John is a pro-family leader in the state of Florida for many years. He is an Eagle Scout. He's an attorney, and he's the founder of the website onmyhonor.net, onmyhonor.net. John, Tim, and Ray, thanks for being our guest.
Tim and Ray, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You were Eagle Scout, John?
Yes, sir. Vigilant, a member of the Order of the Arrow, former Scoutmaster, a donor to Scouting. I get 2 sons in the program, so I have a lot invested in this program.
Tell us what's going on for those maybe who've just heard about the story but don't know the specifics.
Well, next week in Dallas, Texas, I'll be on the ground there, and the National Convention of the Boy Scouts of America will be assembling. And they'll be voting on a resolution that they proposed a month or so ago, which would allow, just doesn't allow, it forces every single scouting unit to be open to accepting openly homosexual young people through the age of 17. And the policy is morally incoherent because as soon as you turn 18, you have to be kicked out of the program because they're basically saying Scoutmasters and adults can't be openly gay, but the boys can be openly gay. And this is really nothing but a lawsuit waiting to happen. The moment a scout turns 17 that's openly gay, literally within days after this policy is enacted, you'll have a plaintiff in some state that has a non-discrimination law, and a lawsuit will be brought, and the courts will force the entire program to have open homosexuality throughout the program.
John, what I don't understand, what I think a lot of people don't understand, I understand the pressure from without put on the Boy Scouts of America to conform to the political correctness of modern day America. You homophobic, bigoted, group. That's the caricature that Hollywood and the political and media elites want to put to the Boy Scouts. But I don't understand, where is this coming from within? Because why are they even voting on this? Who's proposing? Who came up with this resolution to allow for homosexual boys to be in the Boy Scouts, and the Boy Scouts of America is voting on it? Where's this coming from?
Well, it's really sad because less than a year ago, just last July, they affirmed a 2-year study they did from 2010 to 2012, and they affirmed that the policy prohibiting open and avowed homosexuality was, quote, the absolute best policy for the Boy Scouts of America, close quote. And so within less than just months after they did that, the cultural bullies of our day just began to relentlessly pound them and really just go after them. And so in addition to that, there's also a group of gays that are, in the Northeast primarily, that are arguing that, this is incompatible. They met with some openly gay Episcopal bishops and priests that said, look, we're ordained openly gay in our Episcopal churches, but we can't serve as scoutmasters, and that's incompatible. Which I say is nonsense. I mean, they changed their morals after 2,000 years, and they're expecting now scouting to change. So that's how the conversation began. Pressure from outside, also pressure from what was perceived as being inside as well. There's a group called Scouts for Equality. They claim to be, straight, but they're arguing for gay rights or what have you. So the vast majority of people don't want this.
How many of them are, but that's got to be a tiny number.
It is.
Yeah, a tiny number. Talking to John Stemberger, Eagle Scout, attorney. What's onmyhonor.net?
Well, what I did is as soon as I found this was happening, I just felt like, I'm supposed to do this. I understand the homosexual issue. I understand how to organize. I understand media. And I understand the Boy Scouts. And in addition to, I know the top two key leaders. So we formed onmyhonor.net. Onmyhonor.net is not just a website. It's a coalition of parents, scoutmasters, Eagle Scouts, donors to scouting, and alumni. We've networked thousands and thousands of people around the country that just want to say, look, we want to keep sex and politics out of the Boy Scouts. And so we're asking folks to go to that website, do whatever you can do to help us. We have 6 days before the vote in Texas. As we sit here today, we have an email you can queue up to send to at least 400 of the decision makers of the 1,400 decision makers, so you can tell them to vote no. There's also another list of 10 things you can do to help us, including writing editorials and just being an advocate, calling your local council offices and things like that as well.
Let me also say, we certainly encourage you to do what John's just asked you to do, and we too here at the American Family Association, we sent out, we have a, information as well at our website, afa.net. If you go to afa.net, afa.net, on the right side of that page is a story about the Boy Scouts of America and how you can take action as well. Go to John's or ours. The important thing is you need to be involved and take action and stand behind the Boy Scouts of America. I've also heard one other thing, John. I've heard that, and you can tell me how much truth there is to this, that the Boy Scouts of America have a board of directors, right?
Yep.
And are they made up of corporate leaders?
There are some corporate leaders. Over the years, they've led it. Folks like the CEO of AT&T and others who do not share scouting values, who are there, in my opinion, for very ulterior motives to transform this program into something that we don't want it to be.
So that,
and so we
here's if you go on, if you're the board of directors, if you go on the board of directors of the Boy Scouts of America, you need to share their values, and you know what they are when you are going in. So these corporate guys who go on the board of directors of the Boy Scouts, they need to, they're like you're saying, they should. Why don't they go and form the Gay Scouts of America? Why don't you go start that group? You're free to do that. Why do you want to have to change and try to destroy what the Boy Scouts have been about?
Here's the real irony of this, and here's what no one else is willing to say. That currently, there are people with the same-sex attraction in scouting. If you've been in the program long enough, you know who they are. But here's the thing, Tim. They're discreet. They're appropriate. They're not acting out. They're not acting inappropriately in front of kids and waving, the rainbow flag and promoting gay activism. So the issue is this. Membership in full participation is not good enough for gay activists. They want to inject and flaunt their sexuality. They want to promote political, social agendas, and that's just utterly inappropriate when there's kids involved. I mean, you look at anything that has the word gay on it in our culture, a gay magazine, a gay blog, a gay website, a gay parade, you name it, it's going to be guaranteed to be inappropriate for kids. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about injecting hypersexuality and a leftist political agenda right into the veins of the Boy Scouts, and it will utterly devastate it.
How's the vote going to go?
I don't know. We are very encouraged, though. I think we've got a very good shot. The Boy Scouts of America are pumping this. They are pushing this. And they really have not been honest at all, frankly. They've been disingenuous in their presentation. I think the delegates are going to see through it. I really do. I don't think that I don't see them doing this. So I don't know for sure. It is a secret ballot, so we don't know what's going to happen. But look, 3 of the 4 regions of scouting said they didn't want the change, and they're supposed to be voting the voice of their council. So we need to just pray for the delegates to see that they've been deceived, that this is going to transform all of scouting to have open gay throughout the whole program, not just boys. Within a matter of 2 years, I predict that'll happen through a lawsuit that'll be filed almost immediately. And so I don't know. It could go either way, but we're very hopeful that if we can get this message out to the delegates, that we can prevail. Can I have some time to talk about our rallies tomorrow?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tomorrow, all across the country, over 40 rallies will be taking place. At onmyhonor.net, we have a map that shows all of them around, and we're asking for folks to just go out there and be a part of scouting. If you're in scouting, wear your uniform. If you're not, wear white and khaki just to show solidarity, and come out with us for an hour and a half from noon to 1:30 at 40 locations all around the country. The map is at onmyhonor.net. We're rallying for scouting outside the scout councils all around the country.
John, Ray Pritchard here. I want to ask you about the faith-based side of this. There are many, many churches, the Methodist churches, Catholic churches, Southern Baptist churches, LDS churches that are big into scouting. So if the Scouts go in this pro-gay direction, what's going to happen to the faith-based support that's been there for scouting for generations?
Well, quite a number of them will leave. In fact, it's going to devastate the program. The Scouting's own estimates, their own estimates, show that 400,000 young people will leave if they make this change. 400,000. Now, that's not even including the adults and the Scoutmasters. So you're talking about somewhere of upwards of 500,000 to 750,000 people leaving abruptly. It is just the social and human capital is just going to collapse if they do this. There's no way these charting partners are going to facilitate open homosexuality and allow these boys to come in. Now, if a kid has a same-sex attraction, says, I think I'm gay, whatever, that's one thing. But if a kid's going to be openly, bluntly gay and start flaunting that and promoting that, that's just inappropriate. But that's exactly what the BSA is asking for. And they think their behavioral standards are going to prevent that. They're not. They're just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So we pray that Scouting does the right thing. They're undergoing the test of moral relativism right now. And the question is, are they going to pass it?
Talking to John Stemberger, Eagle Scout attorney. He started onmyhonor.net. These rallies that you're talking about tomorrow in support of the Boy Scouts of America across the country, there's 40 of these places. Where can you see ones in your town or neighborhood or community?
If you go to onmyhonor.net, just click on the homepage. As soon as you get there, it'll talk about the rallies, and it takes you to a large map, Google map, and you just click on the little balloon. It shows you exactly who's organizing and where they're going to show up tomorrow at 12 o'clock to 1:30.
And people can be praying about this. This is May 22nd and 23rd in Grapevine, Texas, which is near Dallas. And what's going to be happening, folks, is it's a national, what do you call it, the gathering?
National convention.
National convention of Scout Masters.
No, these are the decision makers. These are the delegates, regional leaders, the executives.
Are they elected?
Are
they elected by their own councils?
Some of them are. Yep. Some of them are elected. Some are appointed.
Are they
some
all
are hired?
Are they all adults? Are they scouts?
Yes, they're all adults. Mostly, they're not scouts. Mostly are adults. Yeah.
So they're adults. They're convening. This is annually at the Boy Scouts of America headquarters, and they're going to vote on a resolution, yes or no, right?
Yep.
On whether to allow for openly homosexual boys to be in the scouting organization. That's what the vote's going to be about, correct?
Correct.
And so, and you're saying if the vote goes to allow for them to be in the Boy Scouts of America, then, and we're talking about openly and blatant. That's what John's talking about. He mentioned that clearly. Then that will. I can't imagine that passing. I think don't you think 90-10, 95 to 5? I mean,
the Boy Scout officials have really done a sales job. They have not been candid or honest at all about the impact of this thing. They've completely ignored the legal aspect of it. They've completely ignored the fact that this is going to increase boy-on-boy sexual contact. Scouting's own youth protection program says that 70% of all abuse within the program comes not from adults, it comes from boys. And so, it doesn't even have to do with the fact that they're gay necessarily. It has to do with the fact that they're boys and they do high-risk, stupid things. There's no way you can, regulate that. Now, with adults, it's different. We have a 2-deep policy. No adult can be alone with any scout at any time. But you can't regulate that with boys. And here's the thing, Tim. The very thing that they want to be equal, they're going to be unequal because we're going to have to separate them out. The Scoutmasters are going to have to put them in separate tents. They're going to have to figure out some way to keep them away in order to reduce the liability and the risk involved with putting boys that are attracted to other boys in the same tent.
You're exactly right. There's a reason why you wouldn't allow for a 14-year-old boy to go into a tent at a campfire and put his sleeping bag next to a 12-year-old girl. Why is that unacceptable? Well, because we know the sexual attraction between a male and a female, and you don't want to put somebody in that kind of position. Same thing. Why would you want to force a straight young man to be put in a tent with a guy he knows is gay? And it's you talk about a very uncomfortable situation, to say the least.